Hello, I'm Mr. Malden, and this is the Math Toolbox, where I teach you how to become a middle school math master. Today, we're going to get into multiplying and dividing fractions, which has different rules than adding and subtracting fractions. So if you watched the last video, pay attention to this one, and you'll see that they have different rules. All right, we're going to go ahead and get right into this. We're just going to go start talking about the rules. Here we got an example of 1/2 times 3/4. All right. So the rules are you're going to start with multiplying the numerators, all right, which are the top numbers. Then you're going to multiply the denominators, which is the bottom numbers, and then you're going to simplify if you need to. All right. So here we go. We've just kind of like set these up. 1/2 times 3/4. Again, we're going to multiply across the top if we're multiplying fractions. Multiply across the bottom. So 1 times 3 is 3. 2 times 4 is 8. So we have a result of 3/8. All right. Not too terribly difficult, but yeah, you just want to multiplying fractions actually is probably the simplest operation to do with fractions because you're just going to multiply straight across. All right. Why don't you try this one right here? You can go ahead and pause this video, and then you can come back and after you've paused it. So go ahead and pause right now. All right, so I'm assuming that you've already tried it yourself, and you can move on from here. All right, this one I just kind of like made it a little bit, I'm combining the multiplication rules, fractions, with multiplying positive and negatives as well. We've got -5/8 times 4/5. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and write that out over here. Let's flip this camera around. There we go, just like that. We've got -5/8 times 4/5. All right. Whenever you have negatives and positives, again, I've showed you this tool before, but you want to use that tool, the positive, negative, negative triangle, to be able to determine the final product. All right. So we're going to do that first. All right. We're going to find out what the final product is going to be by using this tool. We have a negative multiplied by a positive. So I have a negative multiplied by a positive. My product is going to be a negative. So I'm going to go ahead and do that from the beginning so that I can forget about the negative. All right, I can just do the numbers. All right. Now I've got 5 times 4 is 20, and I've got 8 times 5 is 40. And this fraction right here can be simplified down to -1/2. The way we're going to simplify that is we understand that 20 will go both into 20 and 40, so they both have a common factor of 20. All right, so we can simplify that. Doing 20 divided by 20 is 1, 40 divided by 20 is 2. All right, don't forget your negative right there when you represent your final product, just like that. So again, multiplying fractions is super easy. Multiply numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, and then simplify your fraction if you need to. Those are the rules. All right, not that complicated. All right, so let's go on to what if we have a whole number multiplied by a fraction. Well, the only extra step that you're going to do here is just turn that whole number right there into a fraction by putting it over 1. All right, just like that, and then you just multiply the numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator. Right, and you come up with 6/7 in this case right here. So 3 times 2/7 is the same thing as 3 over 1 times 2/7. 3 times 2 is 6. 1 times 7 is 7, and we've got it. All right, why don't you go ahead and try this one. Pause this, try it, and then come back and get the answer. All right, so we have, we've got -2/3 times -4. Again, we got negatives and positives, or just negatives in this problem. So I'm going to use this tool down here, okay, to be able to do this multiplication. I got a negative times a negative. So a negative times a negative is going to be a positive. So I know my final answer is going to be positive. And I could put the plus sign up there, but we never represent it that way. It's just invisible. We're just going to kind of lock that away in our memories that this product is going to be positive. All right. Now then, I've got this whole number here that I need to multiply times that fraction. So I'm going to put it over 1. Because remember, that fraction bar is just division. All right, that's saying 4 divided by 1, which is 4. All right, so we haven't changed the number. We just made it to where we can use it with multiplying other fractions. Now we have numerator times numerator, that's 8. 2 times 4 is 8. 3 times 1 is 3. And we've got an improper fraction right here. If you remember from the last video, with improper fractions, we take the top number, divide it by the bottom number, right? 3 will go into 8 2 times. 2 times 3 is 6. 8 minus 6 is 2. So I've got a remainder here that I'm going to put in my extra little fraction up at the top. All right, so that remainder becomes our new numerator, and then our divisor is our denominator. So we have 2 and 2/3 is our answer. And remember, it was positive because we had a negative times a negative. That makes a positive product. All right. Okay, one other example with multiplying fractions is multiplying fractions times a mixed number. The first thing we're going to have to do is take that mixed number and turn it to an improper fraction. I like the Texas method, which means we put the plus sign up here, multiplication times sign down there. Kind of looks like TX. That's why we call it Texas method, because the abbreviation for the state of Texas is TX. But anyways, you put the plus up here in between the whole number and the numerator, and the multiply down here in between the whole number and the denominator, and then you're going to just draw a circle around indicating where you're starting right here. We're starting down here and we're going to finish up here. So we're going to do 5 times 2, that's 10, right? We're going to add across the top. 10 plus 2 is going to be 12, that's our numerator, and then we're going to keep our same denominator that we had before. So 2 and 2/5 is the same thing as 12/5. This one's represented as an improper fraction. That one's represented as a mixed number. So whenever you're working with mixed numbers, you have to convert them to improper fractions first so that you can do the multiplication. So that's the first thing that we've did, is convert that 2 and 2/5 to 12/5. And then once we do that, again, we just multiply across the top and multiply across the bottom. We're going to get 12 times 1, which is 12, and 5 times 4, which is 20. And then we can simplify that down to 3/5, all right? Both 12 and 20 have a common factor of 4. So 12 divided by 4 right here would be 3. 20 divided by 4 would be 5, all right? So we just simplify that. All right, you try this one, all right? Go ahead and pause this one. Give it a good try yourself, and then come back to get the answer. All right, here we go. We're going to move on with this. It's 2 and 2/5, 2 and 1/5 times -1 and 1/6. Just like we did for all the other ones, we're going to take care of the positive and negative first, all right? Because this is a number right here, and that's a number. It's just a combination of a whole number or an integer with a fraction, all right? So that -1 is a -1 whole, and this 1/6 over here is like a -1/6, but since you squeeze it together, you just represent the negative ones. So we're going to find out first what our product is going to be by doing a positive times a negative. It's going to be a negative, all right? So we know our product is going to be negative. We take care of that first, and then we can just go ahead and worry about the numbers. So if I do Texas method here, I'm going to make that an improper fraction. 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 plus 1 is 11, all right? Over 5, we keep our other denominator. And right here, I've got a Texas method here, but TX, draw my loop around. 6 times 1 is 6, and 6 plus 1 is 7. We're going to keep our same denominator. So we've got 11/5 times 7/6. 11 times 7 is 77, and 5 times 6 is 30. Okay, and we've got an improper fraction here as a final answer, so we need to convert that back to a mixed number. So 77 divided by 30. 30 goes into 77 2 times. 2 times 30 is 60. 77 minus 60 is 17, so that's going to be a remainder, 17 over 30. So we have 2 and 17 over 30. And remember, we already found out that it was going to be negative, so we're going to put it up here just like that. So we've got a negative 2 and 17/30 as our final answer for that problem. All right, so that is how you multiply fractions. Now we're going to move on to dividing fractions, all right? And dividing fractions, I'm a 7th grade teacher this year, but when I was in 6th grade teacher, we taught this in 6th grade. We use a process called keep, change, flip, all right? It's just basically dividing by a fraction is the same thing as multiplying by a reciprocal, all right? And in order to get a reciprocal, we flip it. So Let's just look at this problem right here. 3/4 divided by 1/8. All right, we're going to, if we're dividing fractions, we want to make this problem a little bit more simple, more friendly for us to work with. So we're going to apply this process, KCF, where we keep the first fraction the same, just as it is. We're going to change the division to multiplication, all right, just like that, okay? Now you can't stop there. Just like with adding and subtracting, negatives, whenever you turn that subtraction to an addition problem, you can't just change plus to minus. You have to do something to the next number, right? And in this case right here, we can't just turn multiplication to division. We have to do that and then address the next number. When you're changing division to multiplication, we're not changing this number to its opposite, we're changing to its reciprocal. That's why we're going to flip it, all right? So we're going to take that fraction and just make it upside down, all right? So we applied keep, change, flip, all right? So that we got ourselves a situation where we're changing the division problem to multiplication, and we change that second fraction to its reciprocal, all right? Reciprocal. Reciprocal, just real quick, just a little bit of extra knowledge for you. Doesn't really do much for us in this lesson, but when we get on down to solving two-step equations and things like that, this knowledge right here is really important for us, that two numbers whose product is 1 are reciprocals, all right? So reciprocals, whenever you multiply them together, you're always going to get the answer of 1, and I'll show you here on this next slide. Let's just look at these numbers right here. And maybe you want to pause this video or really quickly write out what you think the reciprocals are. So what's the reciprocal of 2/5? What's the reciprocal of 1/9? And what's the reciprocal of 10/3? All right, there they are. Okay, reciprocal of 2/5 is 5/2, 5/2. Reciprocal of 1/9 is 9/1, which can simplify down to just a whole number of 9. And then reciprocal of 10/3 is 3/10. Now let's just take these examples and let's just apply the multiplication, all right? Because I told you, whenever you multiply reciprocals, you're always going to get an answer of 1. So let's take this one as an example, right? These are reciprocals because it's a fraction that's flipped, all right? So we're going to multiply these straight across the top. 2 times 5 is 10. 5 times 2 is 10. And 10 divided by 10 is 1, all right? So that just illustrates the fact that whenever you have reciprocals, you multiply them times each other, you're always going to get an answer of 1. 1/9 times 9/1, right, is 9/9, which is 1 whole. Now, why do we need that information, all right? When we get on later on to solving, two-step equations, all right, you're going to have these fractions that are attached to these variables, and the way to get rid of that fraction attached to the variable is going to be to multiply it by its reciprocal, all right? When you do that, you do this multiplication right here. You have 3 times 2 is 6, 2 times 3 is 6. That simplifies down to 1. Whenever you multiply a fraction times its reciprocal, it turns to 1. We still have our x right there, and 1x is just x. So that's how you get rid of the fraction. But again, if you don't get that completely right now, that's not the nature of this video. That's just I'm just pulling extra knowledge into this so that you understand what a reciprocal is and what it can do. But again, dividing fractions, you need to keep the first fraction the same, change the division sign to multiplication, and then flip the last fraction or get your reciprocal, all right? Then you can just multiply straight across. So 3/4 divided by 1/8 is the same thing as 3/4 times 8/1, right? We multiply straight across, we're going to get 3 times 8, which is 24, and 4 times 1 across the bottom is 4, and 24 divided by 4 is 6. So the steps are almost identical to multiplication, except we just have one extra step at the beginning. We apply keep, change, flip. That turns the problem to a multiplication problem, and then we just follow the rules for multiplication. Numerator times numerator, denominator times denominator, and then simplify, right? You try this one, all right? 3/8 divided by 2/5, all right? So go ahead and pause this video, and you go ahead and try it right now. All right, we've got 3/8 divided by 2/5. All right, I see a division by a fraction right here. So, and I see the other ones are fractions, so I don't need to make a whole number into a fraction or anything. I've got fraction divided by fraction. I want to make this problem a little bit more friendly to me, so I'm going to do 3/8 times 5/2. All right, so change the division to multiplication, and then get the reciprocal of 2/5, which is 5/2. Multiply straight across, which is 15/16. Okay, just like that. All right. Here's just another little bit right here. Division, all right. The reason why we change it to multiplication, I say, is because it makes the problem friendlier to you. This is why, okay? With division, you can divide straight across too, all right? But you're gonna end up getting decimals. 3 divided by 2 is 1.5, all right? 8 divided by 5 is 1 3/5, which would be 1.6, all right, just like that. And we end up with decimals in the numerator and the denominator that way, okay? Which we don't like decimals in the numerator and the denominator, which means we have to do a little bit more work to get rid of those decimals. In this case, we would multiply both numbers by 10 in order to get 15/16 again. But we don't like to do that, all right? So it's just better, okay, instead of dividing the fractions, change it to a multiplication problem, and then you won't ever have to deal with decimals in the numerator or the denominator like that, all right? Because some decimals end up being like repeating decimals, you know, and you don't ever want that in a numerator, okay? So change your division problem to a multiplication problem by applying keep, change, flip. All right. And then we're dividing fractions now, next problem, by mixed numbers. Again, just like with multiplying fractions with mixed numbers, we need to take care of that mixed number first, all right, by converting it to an improper fraction. So again, I'm going to use Texas method. I'm going to put the plus sign up, the multiplication there, loop it around. 5 times 4 is 20, 20 plus 2 is 22, and then we're going to keep our same denominator. So the first thing we need to do is take that 4 2/5 and turn it into 22/5, all right, an improper fraction. And then we needed to apply keep, change, flip, all right? So we change the division sign to a multiplication sign, and we change the fraction to its reciprocal, all right? So we have 22/5, 4/3. So again, convert any mixed numbers to improper fractions, keep, change, flip it, then you just follow the rules of multiplication. Multiply across the top, 22 times 4 is 88. Multiply across the bottom, 5 times 3 is 15. And then 88 divided by 15. We're going to take that mixed number right there, and we're going to turn it, sorry, not mixed number, we're going to take that improper fraction, and we're going to turn it to a mixed number by dividing the top number by the bottom number. All right? That TIBO, that stands for top in, bottom out. Top goes inside the division bracket, bottom goes outside. So 15 will go into 88 5 times, all right, because 5 times 15 is 75. We get a remainder of 13. So we're going to make a new fraction up here, take that remainder, put it on top, take our divisor, put it on bottom, all right, and we have 5 13/15 as our final answer, all right? So again, that was our final answer, 5 13/15, all right? There's the whole process for you. Why don't you go ahead and try this one, all right? Don't forget the fact that we have a negative here first, all right? So go ahead and try this one, pause the video, try it, and then come back, see if you got it right, okay? Okay, we have a negative 5 1/4 divided by 2 1/2. First things first, we're just gonna deal with the situation here. We have a negative divided by a positive. Again, we can use this tool, the positive, negative triangle, for determining either the product or a quotient, all right? For either working with multiplication or division, right? You're going to use that. So I have a negative divided by a positive, which means I'm going to have a negative quotient right here, all right? Now then, I'm going to take this, so I don't even have to worry about that negative anymore, okay? I'm just going to worry about the numbers. I'm going to take these two numbers and make them improper fractions. 4 times 5 is 20. 20 plus 1 is 21 over 4. Divided by, okay, 2 times 2 is 4. 4 plus 1 is 5. 5 over 2. So we have 21/4 divided by 5 over 2. And I haven't forgotten about my negative. I'm just not worrying about it right now because I already addressed it at the very beginning. This negative number divided by this positive number is going to have a negative quotient. All right, so we converted the mixed numbers now into improper fractions. We're going to now keep, change, and flip it, all right, just like this, okay? Change the division to multiplication, the fraction to its reciprocal, then multiply across the top. 21 times 2 is 42. 4 times 5 is 20. All right, that simplifies down to 2 and 2/20ths. All right, if I were to do the division right here, 42 divided by 20 gives me 2 wholes and a remainder of 2/20ths, like this. I can then take this fraction and simplify that down to 2 and 1/10, all right? Because 2 divided by 2 is 1, and 20 divided by 2 is 10. So I've got that other fraction right there. So I have 2 and 1/10, which I'm going to remember that's supposed to be negative up here. So I'm going to go ahead and put it as my final answer right up here. Okay, so we took our fractions, our mixed numbers, turned it to improper fractions, right, for both of the numbers. Then we applied keep, change, flip, all right, and then we came up with our answer. And at the very beginning, we did a negative times a positive was a negative, so we didn't forget that. So the final answer would be -2 and 1/10. Wow, that's a whole lot of work. It seems like a whole lot of work to do what it looks like maybe a simple problem, but they're just step by step. I say this to my students all the time. The individuals who are good at math, all right, are not just the individuals who can do mental math really quickly. It's the individuals who can follow processes, all right? If you can learn a process and methodically walk through the steps, step by step, you can be good at math just the same, all right? Our last problem, try this one. One last problem, and then we'll be done with the video. Okay, so we've got -5 divided by -1 and 1/3. Go ahead and pause this video, try it yourself before you come back and see what the answer is. All right, now let's go through what the answer is. First thing I'm going to do is worry about the answer. Is it going to be positive or negative? I have a negative times a negative. So a negative times a negative means I'm going to have a positive answer. Okay, I can put that answer, put that plus sign up there just so that I remember it's going to be positive before I erase it to be indivisible, because we don't ever represent positive numbers with a plus sign. But I'm just going to put it up there so I remember later on that I've already addressed this situation. Now then, I'm going to take that 5, make it a fraction first, and then I'm going to make this mixed number right here into an improper fraction. 3 times 1 is 3, 3 plus 1 is 4, right? And we're going to keep our denominator. So we have 5 over 1 divided by 4 over 3. And I haven't lost the fact that they're negative. I've just already addressed that before, okay? I'm just not worrying about that right now, because right now I'm just worrying about the numbers, okay? Then we're going to keep, change, and flip, just like that. I have this fly buzzing around my head, all right? 5 times 3 is 15. 1 times 4 is 4. And then 15 divided by 4 is going to be 3, with the remainder of 3/4. Okay? So just like that, we're going to take our answer, put it up here for our final answer. All right, I'm reminding myself that I already addressed the negative times negative situation. It's going to be positive. So I can go ahead and erase that now because I just want to leave it positive, right? And that is my final answer. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video. All right, as always, if you like the video, you can hit the like button down below. Share it with friends that might be working on the same kind of concept. For other math videos, by the way, I'm starting off the year. We're going one by one. So wherever you are in the country, we're probably going to be right in step with each other. So you can go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below, and that way you can get some extra instruction. I hope you have a great day. We'll see you later. Bye-bye.